Let's visit
Dwarka, the land of Sudarshana Chakra, the land of Vaikuntha, which has been taken by Lord Vishnu himself from the ocean for his own devotee. This is a very sacred place at Pindar Tirtha. Many of you heard the story of Pandavas and Yadavas. Yadavas were sons of Krishna and Pandavas were friends of Krishna. So when Krishna felt that he needed to protect his family from demons, he built this beautiful city of Dwarka. And he had his 16,000 wives and so many sons and relatives. So by the time of departure, close to his time of departure, Lord decided that he needs to go soon and he wants to take back all his family. So remember, we live in a world of mortality, and world of mortality technically means that we can't remain forever in this world. Some people want to stay here forever, keeping their physical body, but this is like a virtual world game-like. So Krishna arranged a pastime, Leela, part of his game, and one part of his game that his family were cursed by sages such as Vishwamitra and Narada here in this place. And the way this story happened is they were playing their games and had a picnic, and suddenly they saw sages coming here to do tapasya and meditation. So they decided to make a joke with sages and check them out. And one of the boys said, "Let me put up women's dress and cover my face and put something like a fruit under my belly so that I'm like pregnant woman, and you ask sages what would be the boy or girl." So this was very naughty joke, very offensive joke. But because the princess and prince thought, okay, we're just making fun, what's wrong with that? So they had to appear in front of sages. And sages, of course, were powerful sages, were not ordinary people. They immediately detect that this is kind of offensive cheating. And they told them, they said, as you are expecting child, which is boy or girl, remember this place is world of mortality. So instead of birth, expect the death coming from your own self. And at a certain point, when the princes were shocked, they saw that the metal club coming out of body of that boy who committed this offense. And finally, they brought to Krishna and King Ugrasen, their grandfather, and they said, hey, we were trying to play a game, and what happened to us is we got cursed. Then King Ugrasen was very, very unhappy, and he decided this is the holy place to commit Rajasuya sacrifice here. And also, he decided to destroy that metal club by wrapping it into powder and spread the power in the air on the Bay of Ocean. So what happened was, that's been done, and the powder of the club was spread by wind inside of ocean. And finally, the thick metal strings of branches came up, almost like metal sticks. So they were looking for like an ordinary environmental green, what is growing here, but it had a deadly power to kill the princess. So when the princess came to this place to play, and they drank some wine, they start pulling those pieces of wood, they thought, just to play with themselves, but it happened to be as sharp as arrows and swords, so they kill each other with those sticks. And that's how dynasty of Krishna vanished. It's a very sad, misfortunate story, but remember, this is the world of mortality. So Lord also showing his pastimes with his relatives and friends. So he went to a place about 200 kilometers from here, and finally he's got shot arrow in his foot by a hunter named Brigari, who happened to be in previous life Bhrigu Muni, a great sage, who had one offense. He tried to test who is more powerful, Brahma, Shiva or Vishnu, and he decided to test with his own intellect and his own mental abilities. So he went to those demigods and started teasing Brahma, and Brahma almost wanted to curse him, although Brahma was his father. Then he went to Shiva, tried to make Shiva mad and angry, and Shiva became very angry, almost burned him. Then he finally came to Vishnu, but Vishnu was so peaceful and couldn't even stop his meditation. So the end of the story, that he were so much disturbed that he hit Vishnu with his foot in the chest. And although he himself became so angry, Vishnu kept peace, and with a smiling face, he approached Sage with word, "Oh, my dear Sage, now that I've got the mercy of your feet, they're on my chest. I always remember about my devotees, their feet is always in my chest, but now by you doing that, you really kept your feet in my heart." And Vishnu was very happy. The Bhrigu was totally mesmerized by such approach of the Supreme Lord, and he almost cried. But the goddess of Lakshmi, which is always residing on the chest of the Lord, she was very unhappy with this situation. So she said, "Well, I cannot tolerate this, and I'm cursing you to become a hunter in this world, uncivilized man, because only uncivilized man could try to examine Lord with his own mental ability. Lord beyond our intellectual mental ability. So we have to believe and worship him to understand him with love, not to try to analyze Supreme Lord with our own cheesy mind." So the mind is very tricky, and you have to suffer to become uncivilized man, because that's what you've done. You've done very uncivilized act. So Bhrigu was very disturbed, but the Lord said, "Don't worry, this is also my will. When I come to this world with my pastimes, I will need to pretend to leave this world. So as a hunter, you will shoot one of your arrow in my foot, and at that moment, it will be the signal for me to descend back to spiritual world, and I will imitate my own departure, my own death, so that materialistic people, demonic people, think, oh, Krishna was just an ordinary human being, he died. But the devotees will understand my true purpose of this pastime." So this is happening about 200 kilometers from here. But still, this is a very, very holy place called Pindara. Pinda is a bowl of rice which they're offering after death to their relatives. And Pindara is also a bowl which, when women just become her pregnant time, without embryo, does not have any hands, gender, no form. It's a little bowl of flesh, also called Pindara. So the birth and death, that's what this place is all about. The mortality of the material existence and temporary world, although it looks very beautiful, but it has its own material nature, which one who's a wise man will realize that nature, and he will not be disturbed by birth and death in this world. So as Krishna teaches in Bhagavad Gita. However, this is a very, very special, very sacred place. It's a chakra tirtha. So everywhere in this land we'll find some chakras. So now I want to find some chakras to prove you how prominent this spiritual symbol is here. Because all this symbolism is showing us that this is not just an ordinary place. This is the place of Vaikuntha. This is the place of Lord. Look at this one. It looked like a stone, but you see the part of chakra. The part of chakra is here in the stone. It's a Sudarshan chakra. It's the symbol of Supreme Lord. And because the legend tells that this whole place has been manifest out of Vaikuntha by the divine power of chakra, the chakra mark will be found everywhere here in every holy place. So we found one, and we continue walking. And I just want to show you some very, very visible ones.
I think we found that one over there on the beach.
So we can see it here. Thank you. Like you see here, chakra, one more chakra, another chakra. Oh, this one is beautiful chakra. So all these very ancient shells, conch shells, but you see they all carry the symbol of chakra. So there are different types of chakra. This place is all, they're all sacred and worshipable. I just don't want to take them with us. I want to leave them on the spot. But they're all over the place. And the history tells us that one time was a great king who was the proprietor of the whole Bhumi land, the planet Earth. And he decided after his departure to give his land to rule to his 3 famous sons, who were great. And one son he gave east, one son he gave south, one son he gave west. But finally, the younger son told him, "Father, why are you acting such arrogantly? You're acting like you're proprietor of the world, but you know, you're not. You're Supreme Lord, who's proprietor of the world. And you are one of the Supreme Lord representatives only." The father was very disturbed because he believed that he's the man who runs the world. And he said to his son, "Okay, if you don't want to recognize my power, if you want to receive land from Lord, go to Lord and ask him for some land." So the son came here and meditated, and Lord appeared to him and said, "I'm giving you that land, which is very, very valuable, which is my own land." And he manifests this land with power of Sudarshan Chakra. Therefore, we find all these chakra marks everywhere here, whether it's Gopitala, and on the sacred clay, we find some chakras, marks, or other places. And this is the memorial temple, which is connected with Lord Shiva. And because this place has very sad history, it's still recognized as one of the best holy places to make sacrifices for their ancestors and relatives. And it's also cremation ground. So there's a lot of cremations going on here at certain auspicious days. Local brahmanas from Dwaraka temple coming here, and they're doing their ceremonies and rituals for their forefathers and ancestors, and they feel how they get liberated. So they invite us here, and we're coming to see their rituals and be part of their program for some time. And then obviously it says this is the best place to distribute gifts to the holy sages. And so we are here. As you can see, this place quite wild, but they say those temples are, as a sacred place, been established here since time immemorial. Of course, in those holy places, in course of time, several hundreds of years, the new king come and he rebuilt the places. Therefore, we can see parts of old temples with manuscripts and the deities. As you see, part of very old temples are here. That means there were many ancient temples in this place. And as time goes, they're taken by water, by ocean, by time.